You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast,
delivering player experience news.
Let's go!
Yeah, you, listening. Ye, whoever you are. I have a question for you. Are video games back? And welcome to episode 164 of Podcast PXN. I am one of your hosts, video essayist and video producer for The Gamer, Christian Macias. And I'm joined over Discord by Kentucky's number one Purple Spartan, PXN founder, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM.
The blurry Spartan.
You were purple a second ago. That was pre-show. Or pre-show technical issues.
Yeah.
President of the Tifa Lockhart fan club, or should I say the Momo fan club lately. He's a Nintendo aficionado, Atlas aficionado, and artist extraordinaire at Roro.
Dun 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 dun.
See?
So,
Engage.
oh,
that's me.
Just felt good. My coworker Gage.
Jeez.
Let's clock in, dude. Forget the show. You want to clock in right now?
Let's clock in.
Let's clock in. Thank you to everyone watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we're live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. Just search Podcast PXN. You can also find us simultaneously streaming twitch.tv/podcastpxn. Housekeeping, none. Got that out of the way. Topic of the show this week is our game of the year so far / hashtag changes happening to PXN's game of the year in 2024. Now we're going to work out live on the show together. Going to figure this out while we're all here before this happens, 2 months from now? Gearing up for it. Also talk about some games that are upcoming later in the year, some previews, and also some of the games we might have missed that we still need to play. Hades 2? We'll get into it right now. Let's go ahead and jump right into our topic of the show. Guys, the first question I have for you guys is, are we going to include older games this year? Should we include older games in our Game of the Year 2024 discussion?
Older games, as in games that have not released this year.
Yeah, games that released 2023 and prior beyond, however that phrase goes.
I had an idea a while ago where if we wanted to include a single category for that, we could have it be like Discovery of the Year or something like that, where it's like a game that you've played for the first time this year.
That's cool.
But has not released this year. I think that would be fair. I don't think it's fair to have a prior game in conversations for the full categories. Like if I never played The Witcher 3 and I played The Witcher 3 this year, and it's like, all right, well, Witcher 3 is game of the year, right? Like there are just some games back in the day that some of us may have missed that are just absolute god tier. So that would be my suggestion for how we want to do this.
But what if we did make Witcher 3 our Game of the Year for 2024?
2024.
I'm gonna be honest something. Red Dead 2 again, maybe?
Exactly, right?
I'm kind of down for that Discovery of the Year. Have 2 categories. That's kind of fun.
yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good middle ground. So we're not like interfering with the games that came out this year, but still can talk about games that we might have missed in the past. Yeah, I think that was easy in my opinion. That's a good choice.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let it roll. I thought this discussion would be a lot longer. Yeah, or that question.
Yeah.
Dan, sorry, what?
No, I said I agree. I think that's a good idea. Glenn might not think it's a good idea because he's pissed off that we started 20 minutes late. Incredible. You know what, Glenn?
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, two cameras not working.
Yeah,
Soon Glenn's going to be playing Black Ops 6 with all of us, and he's going to have nothing but
that's true.
compliments and good things to say.
True.
Watch his demeanor turn right around.
He'll be playing Black Ops 6 with the new Black Ops Xbox Series X controller.
I certainly hope not.
Where you can barely read the buttons. All right. there we have it. Are older games allowed? Yes, they will be, but they'll be in their own category. I guess. No, we don't need any more categories than that. I think that's fine. Just Game of the Year and Discovery of the Year. Yeah. Right?
I think so.
In a better world, we would have like some kind of Mario Party system where we just have random rules assigned at the end, and like one game or another game, like most games that Dan cussed at, now Pummel Party is
Right.
on our list somewhere. Okay, but I have a genuine question though. Are early access games, should those be allowed into our Game of the Year discussions? I'm thinking like a game we'll talk about later, but also games like Hades 2.
It's an interesting question because the game technically has not had its full release yet. And I feel like that's the biggest argument for not having them in contention. But at the same time, it's like on a personal level, if you were to ask somebody what's your best game that you played this year, it's like, well,
Right.
I played this game, right? That it may not be its full release yet, but this is the best experience I've had with said game. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of on the fence.
It's almost like
say.
it's almost like the opposite of what we were just talking about. It's like Discovery prior to the year it releases, because
Right.
like when it comes out next year, hopefully, like that might be in discussion for Game of the Year for that year. And are we like are going to have it? Not to say that it will be Game of the Year this year, but like what if it is, and then next year, oh, is that good still? Is that okay? Like to have a Game of the Year twice?
That's true.
Potentially, it probably might not happen, but.
Yeah, I'm honestly wondering how many people will have like deadlock somewhere in their Game of the Year discussion, because some people love that game, but it's going to be in early access for a long time, well into 2025, I'd imagine too. Yeah, maybe moving that into Discovery of the Year as well, or maybe into like an honorable mentions might have to be the move for something like that. I don't know.
I would agree with that.
Dan, where do you land on this?
I don't have a good answer, and I keep moving my monitor because I'm so fucking anal about my monitor situation, and I moved it, and now it's like I've got like obsessive compulsive disorder or something. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tricky one. I don't know which way would be the better way to do it for early access games. I feel like it's a totally fair point to say if you play an early access game and it's as good as a Game of the Year contender, to say, man, this is like my Game of the Year this year. But then, if you also enjoy that game the following year, if it comes out that following year, then it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
I would maybe persuade us into maybe putting this into Discovery of the Year as well.
For early access.
Maybe. Mm-hmm.
Now what if you just did it on an honor system where if somebody makes that their Game of the Year, you can't have it. I don't want this game going up against GTA 6.
An honor system? Have you met all of us, Gage?
That's true. That's true.
You're the least likely to fucking
to follow any
honor system. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
So far, though, let's just ignore all the questions I ask. Do you have any front runners for Game of the Year this year for yourself? Games that you think will make your, somewhere in the top 2, top 3 for the year? Delta Force? Question mark?
Delta Force?
I'm sorry. Are we including DLC?
No.
Hey, people nominated Phantom Liberty for Game of the Year.
Did they really?
Somebody's gonna have Shattered Space as their Game of the Year this year.
Ugh.
I was gonna name drop, but I'm really glad I bit my tongue there.
Uh-oh.
This is another interesting question about the the intricacies of what is and isn't game of the year, because it's like
Mhm.
when I think of a game like, you know, Elden Ring and the DLC that got, I have yet to jump into it, but I can almost bet that content offering from just that downloadable content is like more than some games. So it's like, I don't know if I could blame anybody for doing Shadow of the Erdtree for their game of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know, right? It's tough. There's so many
I
so many intricacies.
think like in my opinion, game of the year should be like an all-encompassing. So a game being developed is, start to finish being developed from the ground up. Shadow of the Erdtree, I feel like is a really fantastic expansion, but like at the end of the day, they took the bones of what
Right.
Elden Ring is and made something awesome on top of that.
All right. So we have a new category, expansion of the year,
Yeah, we could do that.
for like 2 games.
Alan Wake.
Alan Wake. Yeah, and Alan Wake is in there twice for they're 2 different expansions. By the way, I looked it up real quick. Phantom Liberty last year at the Game Awards was nominated in the category that all of us had an issue with, and that was best ongoing game of that year, because it won, and that game was not that expansion was not like an ongoing expansion. We thought of that more like a live service game that like gets constant updates, like a Destiny 2 or what have you. Interesting.
Yeah.
You want us to go around and do our front runners for the games of the year?
Yeah.
Who do you want to start?
Why do you say that with a smile on your face?
I'm just asking. I'm just curious.
Daniel.
Oh no. I gotta remember the games I've even played this year.
Halo Infinite.
Use backlog, dog.
I know, I don't use backlog. That's the problem.
It's so easy. It's so easy.
I'll start with the most recent one that I've played. Well, I guess not most recent, but one of the more recent games that I've played, which is and completed, Astrobot. I feel like that game was really great, and I think that a lot of people had a lot of expectations after Astro's Playroom, and I feel like for the most part, I think that they landed on a lot of the ideas that they had for the sequel to expand and make them even bigger and better than before. Like specifically those challenge missions that I've talked about previously. Those challenge missions were really cool. Just the difficulty, and I'm not normally one for difficult levels, but those levels were like so well designed that it made you want to keep replaying it over and over and over and over until you were able to finish it. Especially that last mission, that was fucking insane. And it's the first game in a long time that had me so hooked that I wanted to finish it front to back, all in like not one sitting, but like one go, I guess you could say, like not coming back to it months later. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like very much enjoyed searching for every single bot and every single collectible. That was just a lot of fun. And sometimes it's just about if a game's fun. Like sometimes we get so caught up in like, does it have this or this, and like what's the battle pass, and like at the end of the day, I just want to have fun. Like I don't care if it's not the best fucking progression system or whatever. Is it fun? Sure.
Sometimes you just need a fun game.
Exactly.
For sure.
Fortnite game of the year for Daniel.
Discovery of the year.
He put on Iron Man's suit and he started screaming, dude. You should have been there. You should have been there, bro. All right, Gage, what are you fiending for this year? What do you like?
What are we doing? Are we doing 3 games each? What are we doing?
Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
I'm not going to get to free, that's for sure.
I think I just have 3 that are worth mentioning. I'm gonna give a little shout out to a tiny little game I played this year by the name of Still Wakes the Deep. Good old Kaz. I remember him fondly.
Dan, any progress on that one?
I gotta
Dan is
finish it.
currently he's about 2 hours away, which means he just started.
No, I'm not.
Tiny little game, but narratively really compelling. I thought the voice acting was top notch. I thought the writing, character writing was really good, and the story has stuck with me. I think it's a great little game, and I'd love to see this studio. Hopefully, this is like a proof of concept for them in terms of like the scale of stuff that they end up doing. But yeah, still makes the deep. Great little game. If it's still on Game Pass, I recommend anybody listening to go try that out because it's a fun little 4-hour, 5-hour adventure.
Mind you, this is like their 5th game.
Is it?
5th or 6th.
Oh, the
yeah.
Chinese. Yeah. It is right.
Proof
bad.
of concept. You're so funny, dude. Come here. Roshan, anything you'd like to shout out this year?
I like Dan. I think I'm even worse. That is not. I think I am even worse. I have barely played anything this year, and I'm trying to remember what I have played besides the most recent game that I have played. And I think that might be the only thing that I could even speak on. And thankfully, it is a really, really good game. So I think it would be in the discussion, even if I had played other games to compare it to, which is Metaphor Refantasio or Metaphor Refantasio. I'm not sure which way to say that one. But yeah, it's the newest game from Atlus and Studio Zero, which is like the team who made Persona. And yeah, this is just like a new, I would say, new twist on that formula. But it's a lot of it is still the same, but just improved dramatically, and that's what's making it lots of fun to enjoy as a Persona fan. All the stuff that I love from those games is there, plus some quality of life changes that make it just almost perfect because the systems were already so good that they just like add a couple of things like, oh yes, this is how it should have always been. But I love those games for the characters and the stories. And I think according to the clock, I'm 16 hours in, and I think I've only met like 3 of the main cast. I know there's more people to meet, and that's what I love so much about it, is that I know that there's always more to come, and the best is yet to come, I feel, with those games. And I'm always having a blast learning about the cast and the characters. And as you just go deeper, there's always like something that the characters just are always not as they seem. And once you think you get to know them, there's always like a little twist. And it's like, oh, so this is why you're like this. And this is what causes you to be like this. And I love learning about the characters. But outside of that, the combat is really fun. And again, they've taken a new twist on the capturing the monsters and using them as your, as well, in this game, they're called archetypes instead of personas. But yeah, it's really cool to see how they're playing with that this time around. It is a little bit different than usual, but if you played a Persona game, you'll be able to catch on pretty quick. But I'm having a blast with it. Maybe I'll talk about it more during what you got for me, but it's going good. It's going lots of fun.
Their highest selling game, right?
Yeah, within the day. It wasn't even a week. Like
that's crazy.
Yeah.
What audio is that, Dan?
What?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Was my audio? Is my audio messed up?
It does sound.
Yeah,
it
sounds like we're listening to your webcam.
Oh, the Discord did some shit. Yep, Discord did some shit. Hang on. There you go. How's that?
Sounds like I'm inside of you.
Yeah, fastest selling Atlus game within the day that it released, which is great news. Yeah, huge
year for Sega. I think all of us are playing games that we can poop in. So now you can do that in Metaphor as well.
You can.
So all 4 of us.
Incredible. That's incredible.
I'm up to 30 games this year. And keeping it a buck. My top 10 is like, or even top 5 even, is so weird. It's not like it doesn't feel like a traditional year where there's no necessarily a clear front runner. like all these games that I have at the top are like, yeah, this was an amazing experience. I loved it. But none of them has that extra inch over the other. They're all great in their own unique ways. I don't know if that does that make sense? Maybe it does. There's one that I want to shout out real quick that I know Ro played this year as well. You know what? I won't mention that one because maybe
played
Ro
another
will.
game?
Yeah,
No,
you did.
I generally can't remember.
Yeah, we'll get there. Maybe I'll do the next round.
Okay.
But I'm gonna throw out Balatro. Balatro is fucking insane.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You know the pitch for this. It's poker against an enemy AI that is not playing poker hands against you. You're just playing against nothing. And the better your hand, the more points you get. And then the twist is that after every round, you go into the shop to either get more cards, get buffs for the way your cards are scored, or jokers, which are like the wild cards for the game. And you can get a collection of of jokers going, that all kind of talk to each other. So you can rearrange them to have like multipliers go a certain way. And they do a variety of things, like, give you more multiplier for having a straight, or maybe you can do a straight with gaps in between. So instead of like a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, you can do 10, 8, 6, 4, right? And then you can have another joker that's like, okay, now you can do straights with 4 cards instead of 5. And now your hearts give you ×2 multiplier every time you play a hand with those. So now I'm only trying to play heart cards. And it is like this endless loop where the better you get at the game, the more you unlock and the better cards you get. One of those games that you can play forever and forever and forever. The aesthetic of it is fucking sick. The music of it is, oh my god, the music is one of the best soundtracks of the year, and it's like one track. It's like reworked in different ways depending on what you're playing, but it's essentially one track. I love it. One of my favorites of the year, Balatro.
You know who agrees with you?
No idea.
Natalie in the chat saying it's addicting to.
There was a period of time where she would ask, "Can I watch you play a game of Balatro?" And she would watch.
Hell yeah.
Let's do one more round. One more round.
Back to Dan.
Back to me.
It is back to Dan.
Well,
Does Dan have another one?
oh yeah.
Let's find out.
I'm gonna throw the biggest fucking cheat code right fucking now, and you guys are gonna be like, "Whoa, what the fuck? That doesn't count." But you know what? We didn't have this discussion. This wasn't part of our other discussions we had, and that caveated game
The new season.
is played up because it launched in February 2024 on consoles,
Wow.
and I never played it on PC. Does any of that count? It released on all consoles. February.
This is interesting.
That does not count.
What do you
Absolutely
mean?
does not count. It was not released this year.
It did on consoles. It wasn't on consoles before that.
Suddenly, you're playing fast and loose with the honor system, so called. That's discovery of the year if I ever heard one.
It might have to be discovery of the year, Dan, but I absolutely love where you're going with this.
It's big brain though. It's a good game, isn't it?
It is. It's literally the game that made me realize that maybe I don't hate roguelites. And I said I hated them for all those times, and then Gage is like, "Wait, you know that Blade Up is roguelike?" And I was like, "What?" And then it clicked, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. It is. And that got me into Hades, which I still gotta go back and. But oh yeah, Hades will be another one that I
Don't listen to
back.
the hater, Dan. Don't listen to the hater. Played Up is an excellent pick.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent pick for discovery of the year. Good
Sorry, I
job.
paused for a second because I saw we dropped like 300 frames 1 second for some reason. It's good now. I don't know what the hell happened there.
Your
Dan's
computer's
clock
struggling,
right
dog.
now.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on.
Daniel, I'm gonna throw out some out there that I'm gonna reckon that you've forgotten about this year.
I probably have forgot. I was trying to look at a list, and
Did you have fun with Lockdown Protocol this year?
absolutely, yeah, that came out this year.
Yeah, it's a
Very
2024 game.
recently.
Okay,
Came out
I
this
don't,
summer.
I don't know if it's game of the year, but it's definitely a lot of fun.
I'm trying to give you some more games to at least think about.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
You also checked out Chained Together.
That's
Now,
certainly a
if
game.
we were talking about Mario Party categories where games that Dan's cussed at. I think Chained Together is certainly up there.
Certainly up there. Yeah.
You also played Helldivers 2.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, Helldivers 2 is good. It's a good game.
The roguelite.
Yeah. It's a good game. I did write that on my list here. I do have Helldivers 2 written down, but I just don't know. I think a lot of my problem is a lot of the games that I'm really excited for are in the fall. You know, there's still some good stuff coming.
Here's 3 more. Content warning, Hellblade 2, Pal World.
No, God, no. Not Hellblade 2 I still have to finish, so I can't really give a fair representation. I've only played like 2 hours of that. I know. Fuck. I know that's half the game. Whatever. But
I didn't say anything.
yeah. I think honestly, once I start finishing some games, and I think that's gonna happen real soon, I will talk more about that after we talk about games we're playing. But I think that's going to start happening here soon. I'm going to start finishing some games before the year closes out.
I can't wait for that, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I got a question here in just a minute, so we'll hold. I'll ask you here after Gage and Roshan go. So Gage, please. Yeah, one more. You're thinking as a front runner for you?
I do have one. I'm gonna wait to talk about that a little later because I think we're all gonna talk about it. By the way, according to its current roadmap, which it has hit every date, 1.0 release is set for this winter. So this might be my game of the year.
Oh,
But I'll leave that for later.
Wow.
I'll leave that for later, and I will bring a. I think it is worth a mention. I'm gonna bring up Dragon's Dogma 2, which overall, from an open world RPG standpoint, it fell short of my expectations for the sequel. But the problem here, and why I'm bringing it up, is that for combat in an RPG game, I think it stands alone, right? Before you get into the super niche, like FromSoft sort of like hardcore, I feel like that's kind of its own category. If you're looking at just a action adventure RPG, I don't know that there's any game that comes close, at least that I've played, to the combat in terms of the amount of unique animations for all these different unique attacks. Like, there's nothing that's copied, there's nothing that's borrowed. The VFX for all of these like magical imbues that you can do. The game is gorgeous. The game feels so fun to play. And yeah, overall, is it a number one game of the year for me? I don't think so, but man, the combat in that game is truly something special, and a lot of the exploration in the early games was it hooked me. It hooked me for a bit. So, Dragon's Dogma 2, I'm gonna give a shout out.
I would consider that game's combat more hardcore than FromSoft games. FromSoft games are like challenging. Both their systems go deep in their respective ways, but
Right.
Dragon's Dogma 2 was a bit deeper. More things talking to each other with the way like your party system works and how you encounter combat situations. Man, what a presentation for some of those fights. I'll never forget the first time fighting a griffin in that game. How cool that fucking felt. Oh my god, my like stamina is draining as I'm like flying up in the air. I got to quickly take one of those things to get my stamina just to hold on a bit longer. Fun game.
Very few times the games where you see the E3 demos or whatever, the gameplay presentations, and then you actually get it home in your hands and you're playing it and you're like, yeah, no, this feels just as cool as that looked.
Good game. Roshan?
I think I know the game that you're talking about, but I don't want to talk about it because I didn't finish it or get that far.
Okay.
But I think I know which one you're talking about. So I'm just gonna toss it back over to you because I besides that game, I generally don't think I played anything else from this year. This year.
Dress to impress.
All
Roblox.
right.
Roblox mini games or whatever.
Discovery of the year.
Discovery of the year.
Those were surprisingly fun, if I'm being honest. So yeah, might be on the list.
I'm just going to mention a few games that are currently in my top 5. I won't tell you where they are, and I won't even talk about them at all. I just want to mention a few. I still have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in there. I found that game. Here I am talking about it. Amazing game with a lot of little critiques here and there. Don't know if it'll stay in the top 5 by the end of the year. 1,000 Times Resist. Probably the best narrative of the game. Sorry, best narrative of the year in a game. Best narrative in a game of the last 5 years, maybe. Question mark. Really, really good. Really subversive. This one. I do have Shadow of the Erdtree in my list, but as we mentioned, probably not for our game of the year, official game of the year for PXN at the end of the year. Then I have Lorelei and the Laser Eyes as well. One of the best puzzle games of recent memory. Fantastic game. Very Lynchian in its own regard. Good game. Good games.
Monica is in the chat saying Roblox is on his list, referring to Ro.
Has to be.
Epic. Has to be. I saw someone streaming that game. They were playing Dress to Impress, but with the category like hidden. So they just have to go off vibes. It made for like an interesting video. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Fun little challenge. Maybe you and your girl can try that out next time you play Dress to Impress. Yeah.
There will be a next time. We can try that.
I'm going to lump these two questions together. Are there any games still left this year that haven't released yet that you're looking forward to, that you think might make the list? Or are there any games that you have backlog that you haven't checked out yet that you think might be up in that conversation as well?
Yes. I think I've been very excited for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. From what Machine Games has done in the past and Wolfenstein, I feel like this game's not getting the attention that it should be getting from their pedigree, but obviously time will tell. We'll see what happens when the game comes out, but I'm very excited for that game. And also, personally, I've been very interested to see how Dragon Age the Veilguard turns out, because I've only ever played Dragon Age 2 back in the day, and I very much enjoyed Dragon Age 2, and then they kind of changed it up a bit for the sequels, and I never played them. I bought Dragon Age Inquisition and then never played it, stupidly.
That doesn't sound like you.
No, yeah, fuck off. So yeah, I'm hopeful for this game because BioWare has been on a bit of a downturn the last couple of games. So I'm hoping that this kind of brings them back around, so that they're on an upswing for the next the next Mass Effect game, not BioShock.
There's two you mentioned. Two you didn't bring up that I think Gage might mention. You want to mention a few, Gage?
I'll follow your lead. Let me see what you think I'm gonna say.
I know you're okay. First of all, whether or not it makes like a top 3 for you is a different question. I think your mileage out of Black Ops 6 is going to be huge, just for the sake of like how easy it'll be to like hop on with the lads, crack open a beer, either get into some shenanigans in casual multiplayer, but really like zombies. For the 2 different maps, I think you might get a lot of mileage out of it, a lot of fun this year. But in terms of like game of the year quality type of shit, it's Stalker 2. I think that is such a
God
game
damn
that is
it.
kind of up your end. What's up, Dan?
I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot it's coming this year. Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
You stoked?
Who are you talking to?
Engage.
I am very stoked. We're probably going to talk about it a little bit here in the show, but with some of these previews that are coming out, a lot of my concerns that I had seem to be squashed.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that this is a hardcore experience, and it looks like it definitely is going to be that. Stalker 2, I am very, very excited for. Yes. So I mean, there's time. There's a lot of late releases this year, where it's a good thing that we do our Game of the Year show in January, because there's going to be a lot of last minute shakeups. I can tell.
Yeah. Which I prefer, like getting some time during the holidays to catch up on certain stuff. I think is the move.
Yeah.
When does the hard? I don't know the date, but like somewhere in November, I think is the cutoff point for Jeff Keighley's. Correct?
Right.
Yeah.
I think so.
Even worse, nominations are already out for the Golden Joystick Awards. Like their awards show already has all their nominees, and it's like, that was at the beginning of October. That's 3 months of the year still left.
Right.
Crazy. Stalker 2 is the one for me. I'm stoked for Stalker 2.
Hell yeah.
Can be very exciting. I have some indies that I'm looking forward to, but those are such unknown quantities. I don't know where they'll fall or, Anyway. There's one indie that if the 1.0 does come out this year, yeah, might be pretty high. I don't know. Last question I got for the gang is, can you predict what you think the games for Jeff Keighley's Game Awards will be? Does he do 5 or 6? I can't remember.
Usually it's 5, I feel like.
I think 5,
5?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's where my gut's going.
I feel like it's been more some years.
I think it was the Academy that upped it to 6, so it was one more. Or no, they do 10. They do 10, I think. Right? No, sorry. Large Popcorn did 10. I don't fucking know. Guess 5. What 5?
Actually, I think it's 6. Last year,
Do 6.
it looks like last year they did 6.
They did. And a remake is one of them.
Yep.
Resident Evil 4.
Great game.
What are the 5 games going to be? I mean,
6.
6.
6 games. 6 games going to be this year.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I think, will be one.
Right.
Dragon Age?
Could be.
When does that releases in October, right? Yeah, so that's safe.
October.
When does Stalker 2 release?
November.
Mid-November.
So it'll probably be past the deadline, I would imagine. Which
November
is
22nd, I think.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate because every fucking time that happens, I don't care what Jeff says or anyone says, every time that happens, the people forget about the game the next year. Like
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Game Awards should be held in January. Like, and I know this predates just video games, because like the Emmys, the Oscar, all these award do this thing with the split halfway down the year or towards the end of the year. It's stupid. People should follow PXN's lead. All right, listen to what we do.
Hey,
do your award shows in January.
Right.
No. Those shows don't have cutoffs. Well, the cutoff is December 31st, theatrically.
Is it for the Oscars?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I stand
In order to be eligible, you have to have released the year prior and had a minimum of like a 2-week run in theaters.
Okay.
So Jeff, follow suit.
Yeah, exactly, Jeff. Get it together.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff. There's no
Concord.
best ongoing game.
It's still in limbo. It might.
It might. I was hearing some scuttlebutt that they're trying to do an update to bring it back. But I was going to say, like, there's no, to me, that I can remember, there's no big Nintendo game this year to make it on the, like, there's always that one Nintendo game that makes it into there to be that friendly for everyone game. And I can't think of one that was that good to be on the list this year. So I'm thinking like Astrobot might take that place.
Yeah.
100%.
So Astrobot is one of my picks.
I could see Silent Hill 2 squeezing onto the list as well.
Yeah. As like a Resident Evil 4 role from last year.
Yeah. Sure.
And I think, after you guys reminded me and I forgot, I think Stalker 2 very well could It could do it. Could do.
If it makes
If
the
it's-
cutoff, though.
If it makes
Oh
the
fuck,
cutoff,
you're right.
Right, that's what we're
Yeah.
saying.
Fuck, you're right. No, it's
Problem.
not. It's not gonna make the cutoff. I forgot. Shit. Yeah.
What was the big indie that won Game of the Year a couple years ago?
It Takes
Was
Two.
that hate? It are they? I don't know. I don't think they're indie, are they? I don't think they are. That studio?
Yeah, you're right.
I
I think,
think-
they're owned by EA.
Was it
Are they?
Hades maybe? Or
It might just be a publishing partnership.
Yeah,
But the waters are definitely muddy when it comes to
right.
no?
what's his name.
Was it Celeste? Not Celeste.
I think it was Vampire Survivors that was
No.
making waves. That was like nominated for something, but it might not have been Game of the Year. I might be wrong there. Don't be surprised if Belantra wins some stuff. But Game of the Year nominee, no. I think Helldivers 2 might make it into that in that 5th, 6th spot maybe. It had its moment. People will think about it at that moment.
I think it deserves it, to be honest. I think it deserves to be in the discussion. I don't think it reached that point for me, but that
Sure.
first month and a half, 2 months, this was an extremely solid experience. It was great. The community was great. The jokes, the banter, like a lot of games try to want that from their releases, and they don't get it. But Helldivers 2 had it. It was a vibe.
Metaphor. How we forget Metaphor? That is going to get a nominee.
Definitely.
Probably over Persona 3 Reload, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about games like a Dragon or Tekken? It's probably going to be in their own category. It's probably not game.
Probably in the, yeah,
Right.
sure. Yeah.
I know those guys reviewed pretty well, but maybe too niche for Game of the Year.
Just for
So what do we have? Go ahead.
just
please.
for clarification, Hazelight is independent. EA just made publishing deals with them. So
And then again, Dave the Diver was not independent, and that was nominated and won, I think,
well,
Indie of the Year. So
we were at that game awards that Joseph ran up on stage. That was crazy.
were we?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that was the one.
That was the one where he said "fuck the Oscars."
Yeah.
Can't
Or
be.
no.
be.
He didn't say fuck the Oscars at that one. That was a different
Okay.
one that he said fuck
Right.
the
That was the year
Oscars.
prior, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Or 2
Yeah.
years prior. Yeah, because Jeff brought him up to talk about one of his future games. It might have been to talk about It Takes Two. And he's like, fuck the Oscars.
He was drunk.
Yeah. Great.
Do we have our 6?
We're getting close. We got Silent Hill 2. We got Helldivers 2. We got Metaphor. We
Astrobot,
got Astrobot.
Final
Rebirth,
Fantasy,
Final
and
Fantasy
then
Rebirth.
maybe Veilguard.
and
maybe
Veilguard.
Veilguard.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Here's what I think.
Oh wait, here,
Okay.
hold on a second. Here comes the upset from across the ring. Does Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 get talked about?
Oh,
It's also kind of having a Helldivers moment, and it's more recent than Helldivers. That's the only reason I bring it up.
maybe it'll get its flowers in its respective category. I don't see it in
Right.
Game of the Year.
Right,
Best multiplayer, best shooter, whatever. Yeah.
You're right.
Likewise, I think games like Animal Well, Thousand Times Resist, people love those for their own Game of the Year personal lists. Those will make like indie lists or games for impact style shit.
next year.
Dragons.
Next year is fucking gonna be ridiculous, especially if
Yes.
fucking Stalker 2 and Indiana Jones end up being really good games next year. Good luck.
One more question. There were 2 games this year that were thrown out as potential Game of the Year contenders when they each came out. One of those was Dragon's Dogma 2. The other, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Chances? Question mark.
I think it's possible to see Dragon's Dogma 2 on the list. I think a win for them is extremely unlikely.
Fair. Fair. There you have it. Game of the Year for PXN this year. Who knows? Maybe Stalker 2.
Keurig.
Until then,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Keurig just said Tiny Glade, which I'm assuming is a game. It
Oh.
is.
Tiny Glade. It's a building game, I think, right?
I think he's mentioning it as maybe a indie game for
Indie game of the
potential.
year. Tiny Glade has gotten a lot of buzz, and I tried it during one of the Steam Next Fest demo things, and it's got sauce. I can see why people really dig it. It's a vibe.
The diorama building game, looks like.
Yeah, they developed a custom. I don't know if it's a custom engine or if it's just custom frameworks for stuff, but it's kind of like painting a brush, but you're building castles. It's got a very adaptive system where you're just painting holes in it, and now it's got a door, and you paint a hole, and it's that's a window. Very, very cool game, Keurig. That's a good shout out.
By the way, I've tried going through the Next Fest page. The one that's going on right now, just breaks Steam for me every time. Nothing loads.
Really?
Nothing loads. The videos are just frozen.
That's unfortunate, dude. I love Next Fest.
I did too. I have a couple of games that were on my wish list available now for demos that I might check out. One of those included, if you remember, one I most anticipated, 420 Blaze It 2, Game of the Year, Dank Dreams and Goated Memes, WoW/11 like and subscribe, Poggers Edition. Remember that one?
Yes.
It's got a demo. It's got a demo. And so does Delta Force. Make sure you download it, Dan Engage.
Already downloaded, ready to go.
I think I'm the only one who's played it here.
You are?
No, you are not. I also played it.
Oh.
Phil Spencer was behind me and I got scared.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Did you played the extraction mode too, right?
Yes. Yep.
Multiplayer is the one that I have not tried. That game mode. And it looks pretty fun. We should jump into that as well. All right. Speaking of Stalker 2, segue into news of the week. We have some Stalker 2 previews that went up today. I pulled a tweet from, what's his name? Clobril? Over from X, where it all happens. It all happens on X, guys. Twitter.com. That has some pull quotes from a couple of outlets. I'll read those to you. If the full game from Windows Central comes anywhere near what I experienced in my brief time with it, it will make Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl a clear Game of the Year contender. That's exactly what Gage was saying. IGN, I think Ryan maybe played this.
Dustin.
Thank you. 2 hours isn't enough time to see all the branching stories, admire all the beautiful graphics, and discover all the secrets within the world of Stalker 2, but it is enough to be left impressed. VGC says Stalker 2 feels like a winning return to the franchise. End quote. Eurogamer, if it continues to expand and elaborate upon that across the whole of its exclusion zone, then GSC Game World might just have something special on their hands. One more is from Games Radar. If you can stomach the difficulty, Stalker 2 offers one of the most immersive survival experiences around. And the biggest thing around the game's previews today is the level of challenge. It is playing very similar to that of like an extraction game that you're kind of used to, that gameplay loop of immersion, where when you get shot, you have to keep an eye on like which body part you hurt, and then apply the correct kind of like tourniquet, medkit, whatever, to apply to that wound. And it is some challenging gameplay. The zone is very brutal, but it's making for some like highly enthralling scenarios when you go out and explore with a well-prepped kit. You have like some of the most fun but challenging gameplay around in the genre. He's just smiling, man.
Say less, dude. Say less. This I mean, come on. Like you said, when you said the words you were quoting somebody who's played it, but when you said the words, if you can stomach the challenge, butterflies. I got butterflies immediately. This is what I want. And that's kind of the one thing that I think holds back the Metro franchise, because Dan and I talk about the Metro franchise a lot. We both love it, and part of the reason why we're so excited for Stalker. But like, it's very much just a first-person shooter horror sort of thing. This is going to be a challenge. This is going to be something that you invest in, that you get immersed in. And I'm ready. I'm so ready, man.
Daniel?
It's funny because everything you just said is probably the reason why I would like Metro more than Stalker based on those comments. But this also sounds really awesome. Because like I think what it shares with Metro is it seems like the ambiance and the environments and the like feeling of being in this dystopian world. Like I think it's gonna pretty much nail that with the same type of ability that Metro had when you're in those worlds. It's something you can't really describe, like feeling like you're actually in the world as opposed to just playing in the world. So yeah, I'm very interested to check it out, and it's on Game Pass.
Oh, huge!
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Also, Xbox console exclusive, so a big win for them over
Big
there.
win.
For me, there's been like a fundamental shift in gaming. It hasn't happened everywhere, but for specific titles, it has. And what I mean by this is there's somewhat of like a niche trend of games that are, let's just say, demanding. Whatever shape that takes, like demanding in terms of like onboarding, where the kind of the learning curve is a little bit steep but highly rewarding. It's taken a few different shapes over the past couple of years. Maybe Elden Ring was maybe the first where like that, like, you know, From Software hit like the biggest audience it has ever. And then this year, games like maybe Helldivers 2 sort of made that more of a norm, where you saw the phrase, a game for everyone is a game for no one, start to get popularized, and other kind of challenging games start to incorporate that into their own design. And you can even maybe point to games like Deadlock, even, where it's like, this is a mobile game, it's also a third-person shooter. It's going to be very deep. It's going to be very challenging to learn how these systems work. But if you give it the time, you know, you'll get like one of the best experiences around in the shooter space of recent years. Stalker 2 for me is looking to point that way as well. Like, complete opposite of Dan. I want games that demand something out of me, that like I need to meet the game on its terms, and then just by the act of playing and learning, I'm going to be rewarded in the gameplay loop, and like have friction be the point of satisfaction for me. It's going to be so fucking sick to have like awesome visuals, great sound design, but to be like actually in it in like these like tense firefights, or like, you know, really like macabre exploration of the zone. Like, yes, give me something that makes me not just be super casual behind the sticks, but make me think here and here when I'm like approaching any kind of exploration or combat. Very stoked for it. With a gummy? Oh, please.
And to be clear, I don't mean like I want it to be easy or anything. I'm meaning more so down the path of like, I don't want it to be fucking a FromSoft game, you know? Like, I think there's a fine balance there between like making things like extreme just to make them extreme, and that's their game design, versus just making it more engaging.
Which is not typically the FromSoft case. It's challenging, and again, each game has their own but they're highly exploitative once you can kind of game the system or learn the system. Is my defense there. Don't be afraid to look up some guides and get in the community, or ask me for help if you ever give it another shot. We're here for that. I think the point of the game is community. We're here to help. The get good people are wrong, Dan, is what I'm trying to say. Some news from Analogue. This is Dan. I woke up to this message. I was getting ready for my morning meeting, and you sent, this is crazy. And dude, it is legitimately actually pretty crazy. Analogue, the guys who made the Analogue Pocket, that's them, right? Correct? Yeah, the Pocket.
Yep.
Announced, what is it called here? The Analogue 3D, a reimagining of the Nintendo 64 in 4K resolution. I'm reading from their press announcement. Perhaps the greatest multiplayer system of all time, Analogue 3D is the world's first 100% compatible with every original N64 game ever made. Region free. Bluetooth LE. What is LE? You know?
No idea.
I'm not sure.
Dual band Wi-Fi. 4 original style controller ports and an entirely new next generation analog hardware featuring 3D OS, engineered entirely in FPGA. No emulation. That's available for pre-order starting October 21st at 8 a.m. Pacific, and the retail of it is the exact same retail I think the original N64 launched. $250 US.
Bluetooth LE. It's limited energy, so it uses less energy, less power.
Gotcha. Here's the part that I wanted to talk about as well. The signature and soul of the CRT, says Analogue, on your HD TV in 4K. Unlike its 2D predecessors, the N64 wasn't just about pixels. The original hardware's distinctive approach to rendering polygons and textures depends on the CRT far more critically than simpler 2D systems. It's the N64 reborn. This is kind of nutty to be able to play. They're right down there. I'm not going to pull them out. Like literally my N64 cartridges with a Bluetooth controller that I'm not quite fond of, but you can also plug in an actual N64 controller and play them right on your 4K TV and have these pixels be rendered in an upscaled manner in a way that feels like native. Kind of wild. They call this a big win for video game preservation. I think I kind of agree.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Aren't like what are original ends going for these days? Are they around the same price, or because when I clicked on this and I saw what the price was, I was honestly shocked that it was below 300, even though it is technically an older console. But I feel like what they've done for it kind of warrants that price.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not as expensive as I was expecting either.
You can,
and if it's
sorry,
you can get it for what?
You can get it for like around $100. It looks like on eBay.
Okay.
Yep, I do the same thing. I have between $50 to $200 depending on the condition of the console.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that lessens my point a little bit, but but still, it's still cool that.
I don't think so because 4 original controller ports, but also Bluetooth compatibility and upscale to 4K. That's worth maybe the premium, right?
HDMI output as well, right? You don't have to worry about any
Right.
conversion cables or anything like that. The price adds up if you were to just buy off of eBay a Nintendo 64 and try and plug it into your 4K OLED, whatever you have, right? The price is going to add up. So Analogue, for the second time in a row, they've done something very, like you said, pro game preservation. I'd argue with like how sleek the packaging is and how I haven't heard of Twitter blowing up that these things are falling apart at the seams. So they seem to be competent machines. They're sleek, they're sexy, and the price is decent. Like I'm kind of starting to really like this company.
Well, and if their technology for upscaling and to give it that CRT effect on a 4K TV, if that works really well, then that's obviously way bigger than just using like an original N64 and getting cables that will work on the 4K TV.
Which sometimes looks ugly, which is something that I was doing to play old games. But also, dude, the fact that it's fucking region free is nuts because any other N64 console is not going to do that. You can buy these cartridges from any country that were manufactured in, and it'll play it. Is kind of huge. I am working on a story for the Mario 64 ROM hacking community, and I'm wondering how this will change that, or if it'll change that at all. But like the way some of these ROM hacks work is that you can buy the ROM hack as a standalone cartridge. They'll like get a Mario 64 cartridge. They'll hack it on their PC, obviously, whatever. They'll make their new game, and then you can have it be living, existing on an actual physical cartridge that you can play on an N64 game. If you can do stuff like this, there might be a secondary market for ROM hack games that you can play on an Analog, which is kind of fucking nuts.
That is really cool.
Something to think about. Our last news of the week item is that Xbox has their partner direct tomorrow, the 17th. Forget what time that is at. However, we do know that Alan Wake 2 will get 10 a.m. Pacific. Alan Wake 2, their latest DLC, The Lake House, will get their a new gameplay trailer shown off at this event. Hopefully, a release date that is soon. I mean, they say October, right? So a shadow drop later today, maybe next week. We'll see.
Hollow Knight Silksong 100 out of 100 releases December 31st.
Jesus.
This is Gage's last chance for a Silksong release date.
And
This is it.
that could be your downfall too, Christian, because you counterpicked it, right?
I did counterpick it. Yeah.
That would be wild.
I can't win first place, but I can bring down Christian if Silk Song comes out.
No, then Dan wins again, you know?
No, I think
That's
Ro
true,
would. Ro's fucking in second. He's killing it.
I don't know if it's enough to win.
It would be so unfortunate on a cosmic level if Silk Song does release and it's like, okay, cool, the guy who currently has 30 points gets an extra 20, 25. Congratulations.
If it gets 100, you get what? 20,
I'd only get
40.
30.
You get 40 because
Would it be?
you get double points from 90 to 100, so you get
wow.
40.
So then I'd end the season at 80 points while the rest of you are at 130, 120.
The funniest thing that could happen is it comes out and it's like a 77.
Oh,
That would be amazing. That would be funny.
It won't be. It won't be. Some quick bites for you. First up is the Astrobot has their speed run levels releasing as early as next week. I think that is the first day. Tomorrow. The level's called Building Speed, and then you'll get levels every week until November 14th. So there are a total of 5 levels on the way. Exciting for those. I'm probably going to wait until they're all out for me to play them.
same.
Otherwise, the other quick bite is that we got news that from Certain Affinity's canceled Halo Battle Royale, which I don't know about. Dan, can you take the reins for this one item?
Yeah.
What did we glean from this today?
Yeah, this is what Project Tatanka was rumored to be, the battle royale from Certain Affinity, which is Max Hoberman's studio, the former one of the former lead devs on Halo 2 back in the day. And Certain Affinity's worked on literally every single Halo game since Halo 2, helping with DLC, helping with other content for Halo. So yeah, it was reported that they were working on a battle royale mode, and this dude on LinkedIn, his name Flopper. I don't know what his first name is. For some reason, it doesn't say it here. It just says his last name. Flopper. He joined Call of Duty Studio Raven as the design director, and he now mentioned the unannounced Halo Battle Royale mode in his LinkedIn profile and said, "I led a large team of designers working on a canceled Battle Royale mode for Halo. I believe this product could have been a game changer for the franchise. We loved playing it and working on it. It was a fantastic experience in spite of its cancellation," which is kind of unfortunate because I think I've always been of the camp of I think a battle royale would be cool, and I think it would really work in Halo's sandbox. I was always just saying, when Halo Infinite came out, people were saying, "Oh, battle royale has to be here for it to be successful," and we didn't get it, and that wasn't the reason why Halo Infinite, lost people over time. It was because of poor plan post-launch. The game shouldn't have launched when it wasn't ready, amongst other issues, the game engine being deprecated and they weren't able to update things as quickly as they'd like. So yeah, I think that it was the correct decision to cancel this because it doesn't make sense to continue to invest in that poorly optimized engine when you're switching to Unreal. even though it is unfortunate that we could have gotten a cool experience out of it.
I thought Gage would respond. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I pretty much agree with everything that Dan said. I don't really have much to add to the conversation, so I'll leave it at that.
There you have it. We agree. Moving on to our fantasy draft check-in. One game this week. Hold on. There should have been 2 games with some points. First up is Super Mario Party Jamboree, latest Mario Party entry from Nintendo. Reviews are mostly positive, with a few that are a bit down on the franchise. This go around, but most are pretty happy with the way this one shaked out. Current Open Critic score for it should be somewhere in the 80s still, if I recall.
82,
ODST
81.
81. So it went down a little bit. I think when it first dropped, it was somewhere in the high 80s. So kind of settled in 81, which is still pretty good. So 11 points for Daniel, should be locking in any day now. And then Gage picked up A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead, releasing tomorrow. I've heard no one at
Not
all.
a single word.
No reviews up for this game at all. We'll see if they come out tomorrow, or maybe a couple days after, or maybe just no reviews at all.
Week,
I don't
next
know.
week we can talk about my -6 that I'm getting.
That's crazy. I should have kind of picked that one.
Gage is
There might still
starting.
be time.
Gage is starting up 5 video game editorial companies right now, just so he can hit the minimum on Open Critic to get in there.
Is that what it is? 5?
I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, let's not forget that to talk about that happened after we recorded last week is that Football Manager 2025 has been delayed for the first time ever. The first sports game released in the year in its name. It's releasing next year. So Gage, another game Gage will not be getting points for. Crazy.
Yeah, if you're a video game developer out there, you better pray that Gage is not drafting you on his fantasy team.
Bro is a curse. He's a curse. That's awesome.
You know what? There's one game that has 1 review right now, Christian.
Is that for? Wait, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's a game that's out in 2 weeks that has 1 review already for it, apparently. Life is Strange Double Exposure. It has 1 review from GamePro, 85 out of 100. Yeah. 1 review.
So I went on the Steam page because I know that game it's out already. If you bought the $80 version, you can play up to the first 2 chapters, I think.
Oh.
And it's like mixed, which is crazy because you don't have the context of the full game. Why are you already reviewing this on Steam?
Yeah.
Unless it's like performance issues, but from what I was reading, it was not that. They were just unhappy with like the first 2 chapters. Like, well, hold on, let's wait till the whole thing's out first. I don't know.
Right.
I think this one will be pretty good too, though. So I have faith in this title as well. So I'm trying to say, Daniel.
Black Ops 6, I guess we should have reviews for by next week, right?
Yeah, if it's out next Friday, maybe like Monday or Tuesday, that should lift, huh? Unless they do like review in progress with, the multiplayer side coming out later.
Oh, no.
As well.
Christian, they started the review in progress during the beta. Because I was like, what?
You remember? Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Why IGN's doing that? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I forgot about that. A lot of games left in October. There's still Alan Wake 2 DLC that Ro has. And then Dragon Age, the Veilguard, is mine. Yeah. That's it. Before we close out the show, let's talk about the hotness that is Abiotic Factor. Gage, please go.
How do I even talk about this game? This to me screams like this is what happens when you have a bunch of I'm guessing. I don't know if that's for sure, but I'm guessing this is what happens when you have a bunch of creatives that just work on something with very little business oversight. Because I don't know how you pitched this game to a board of directors. I don't know how you write down on paper and do a PowerPoint presentation of what this game is. Even one of us, Dan, was hesitant to buy this game because it's such a hard game to explain. But it's truly a campaign style survival experience with every piece of the survival genre that you've thought was annoying or stupid has either been eliminated or totally revamped in a fun and engaging way. And even me talking about it, it sounds like I'm on their payroll and I'm just saying nonsense. But like, this is actually an apt description of the game. It's truly incredible. It's the game I was hinting at earlier that might be my game of the year this year if it releases. Abiotic Factor. It's fantastic. Christian, please tell the people.
Yeah, when we were trying to pitch it to Dan, we were saying that it's like if Lethal Company, with all its, SCP inspired monsters and facility type thing, all its indie aesthetic, was a survival game with like a little bit of a campaign. That was the pitch, and then we kind of got more into it. I read that it was like it's Half-Life inspired. That the like location of it is Half-Life inspired. But I think there's also like elements of like BioShock in there. Like you're in this facility, you're stuck in, you're trying to get out, and there's like these kind of like there's like the inner politics of like the company that has made the living conditions for these workers a lot worse. And yeah, it is just like a very quirky indie survival game that gets better and better the more you play. Where like every couple of minutes, Gage and I will be like, fuck, dude, this fucking, like the devs just, there was a complaint that Dan and I had about like, man, it would be really sick if they had like made, when you're crafting things, if it would just pull from your storage crates that were set up nearby. Hours later, we look in the bench upgrades tab and it's like, dude, motherfuckers, we were just so stupid, forgot to look in there. They thought about this too. And not only do they have that as like an upgrade for your bench that you have to go out and, resource gather to build, but like there's tons of more stuff. The more you engage with the game, the more you're getting out of it. PC Gamer has a headline that it's so funny. I fell in love with Abiotic Factor the minute I strapped a couch cushion to my chest and called it armor. There's no other survival game like it. There really isn't, man. This is maybe one of the better survival games that I've ever played. Insane how much it like had its hooks in me so early on and continues to surprise me every 30 minutes to an hour. We had a moment where we unlocked a new area once, Gage and I, and we're going back and forth because we're moving supplies from our first home base to our temporary base. And we're riding this tram together. We're sitting down to conserve like energy and hunger and thirst. And Gage goes, man, no loading screens at this game, huh? And it was such a like moment, like, yeah, the devs really do fucking get it. Gaming might be back. This is one of the best games I've played this year for sure. So much fun.
Let's fucking go.
You know what?
And I dismissed it early on, man. Gage was like, should we get into this? Like, fuck, come on, man. And then, sorry, Dan, go ahead.
No, you're good. You know what's interesting though, because that night that we were first talking about playing, or you guys were first talking about playing, or Gage was trying to get us to play, whatever. I was like, man, let's play Rust. That's a real good survival game. So the great thing about Rust is the story. No, it's gonna make sense here in a second.
Okay, we're following.
The great thing about Rust is like the interactions you have in that game are that game's story. Like that game is great because of the interactions of other people in the world and like just how interesting those dynamics are of like dealing with real people that you don't know and what they're going to do. Are they going to attack or whatnot? So like I got real into Rust for a while, and I'm not a survival fan, generally speaking. Like most survival games I don't really enjoy that much. Like Fallout is one of my favorite IPs in existence, and Fallout 76 is just for me because it's a survival game at the end of the day. This game, the story is like so enamoring, like the characters and like just how smart they're writing these characters, like where it's like, I don't know how to describe it, but like uncanny, like weird comments that they make, but like purposeful comments that are just like out of left field, and you're like, oh, okay, this is hitting very well for me. Like those interactions with the characters in this game's story are what are very attractive to me and interesting to me. And like, if this was a game that I was playing by myself, I don't know that I would be able to force myself to get to those points in this game. So like the fact that this game is multiplayer co-op is like so much better for me, like that we can all do this together. It's like a city that we're trying to like work together to get to this end goal, to get to the next area and then to the next area, and like hit those story beats. And that is very much what I've enjoyed about this game, is like hitting those story points and figuring out what we're gonna do next, how we're gonna take out this robot to get his CPU core.
Dan, I will say, it's kind of a little bit of a shame that when we first played, when you first got in it with us, we kind of quickly brought you up to speed to where we were in the game, because the early hours of discovery of the like finding the NPCs and listening to them really set up the like kind of pitch of the game story pretty well, that we kind of skipped over with you. But something that I found out is that all the emails get sent into your journal that you can just reread, and those have like, they're short, they're so short, but those give you so much context as to what's going on, that when I found a new NPC later, it kind of like remade me think about like what the fuck was going on in ways that I still obviously don't know what's going on, but like kind of changed a little bit of the pitch of the game. Like something else is happening and I don't quite know what. And that added an extra layer that I wasn't expecting. This just happened very, very recently. Yeah, I would encourage you to check out a few of the journal emails that you might have in your little, when you press J. Or maybe we can meet some NPCs that I think are really good and give you some additional context that might make the game a bit more interesting on the narrative front. Some cool stuff in there.
Yeah, I'm very much interested. Very, very much interested in that aspect of the game. Glenn says Rust is amazing. Glenn, if you thought Rust is amazing, you might very much enjoy this game. Let's get you a PC, buddy.
Hey, I got spare parts. Sheldon doesn't want them, Glenn. I'll give them to you.
Sheldon doesn't want them?
He doesn't. He doesn't. He keeps refusing. I'll put them together for you, Glenn, and I'll ship it off your way. All right, you just tell me when. I'm gonna make an absurd comparison at first, and it might drive Christian crazy, but just follow me for a second. When I was playing Elden Ring for the first time, and oh man, that's crazy. My brain, I've already forgotten the starting area, but like you're in the starting biome, and I'm playing it, I'm exploring it. I'm like, wow, this game is fucking expansive. And then you go to Caelid for the first time, and I'm like, holy crap, like there's more to this. And then those two areas is only like 30% of the game. Like when we were playing this, I was so content in the facility. I was like, this is the ambiance is great, the environmental storytelling, finding these NPCs around. That's another cool thing about survival games. They usually feel like dull, dead open worlds, but like the little NPCs they have scattered around with the voice acting, you can tell is just the devs' friends that are giving these quirky, kind of like not really great, but also kind of great line deliveries. I was totally content with all of that. But then the three of us discovered the first portal, and we went to this Silent Hill ass foggy town. And I was like, oh, there's more to this game. And then we go through this town and all this crazy shit happens. I've got clips on my PC of just us screaming and all this crazy stuff happens. And then I get off and I take a peek at the wiki and I'm like, oh, there's 7 or 8 different worlds to go to. And I've been content with this facility and the one portal we went through. I was enamored. And there's content that we haven't even seen yet. This game, it feels expansive. Like Christian has said numerous times, these devs get it. And I don't know, man. This game it's something special.
The system in... Huh?
Sorry, go ahead.
The systems in this game is awesome too. Like the way, like there's mini games when you sleep to like make your like fatigue recover faster. There's also like the more you eat, the more you drink, the more like the faster you have to go to the bathroom. And Dan loves not closing the door when he goes to the bathroom, which means you get clips where like Dan is yelling because a monster attacked him while he's like he said, "I'm trying to take a shit," and I look over and the door's wide open. Like, dude, close the door. That's
You have to remember, I live well. You do too. I live alone, so I don't ever close the door. You know, why do I need
true?
to? Yeah, why do I need to close the door? I don't live with anyone.
How about when you shower? Door open or
door's
closed?
open? I don't live with anyone.
Oh my god.
That's fair.
You know?
I'm a big fan of the ajar, door ajar. You know.
Mm. What's it gonna take to get Row in this game?
I don't know. I don't even know. I searched it up though. It looks interesting, but it, like you guys were saying, it may be a hard sell at first. But the way that you guys were talking about it seems like
It's such a hard. Like this is the thing. This is why I talked about the business execs at the top of this conversation, because I don't know how you pitch this. Like this had to be an indie game. You can't make this at a Ubisoft. You can't make this at like an Activision. These types of experiences you can only get from a bunch of people sitting around who love games and understand gameplay mechanics and go, let's make something of our own and let's get rid of all the bad shit and only put the fun stuff in.
Yeah.
And also it takes place in a 90s office setting. Like, sure.
1993.
Yeah. Like,
when my cousin was... Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, bro. When my cousin was studying computer science. I don't know if he saw this somewhere or if this was like a personal account of his, but he's telling me like this meme that was like, the meme goes, "I have an idea for an app," and the guy goes, "It's like Facebook button," and like, "Oh, let me just stop you right there," because like, how many fucking apps are out there that are like Facebook? You know, we're seeing that right now with Twitter. How many apps are out there that are like Twitter, but really they're not really going to replace the biggest one because it's still the biggest one for a reason, right? Right. Same thing with these devs, man. Like, how do you pitch this game? Like, oh, it's a survival game, but let me stop you right there. And that was how I felt when Gage was trying to get us to get on this game. Within 30 minutes, I told him, "Oh, I understand why this game is overwhelmingly positive." Discovery of the year.
Maybe game of the year. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And I was extremely reluctant to buy this game. Now,
Sure.
Keep in mind, Ro, just for context here, we had bought a game prior to this.
That wasn't overwhelmingly positive.
Exactly. It was called Escape the Backrooms, right?
Okay.
And that one was mostly positive, but I don't know about that one.
We did not enjoy that. We all refunded that game, and I was like, all right, I don't know if I trust you guys anymore.
Right.
Deadlock, okay. I see the appeal. Not for me though. Too busy in the factory.
Fucking
Or whatever.
we got science to do.
Can you believe we had Risk of Rain 2 and Abiotic Factor this year?
I really can't. Well, Risk of Rain 2, that would land in the Discovery of the Year, wouldn't it?
It would.
Which one wins?
Depends, man. Depends. There's still a lot of way to
Christian and I might spend more on that than the Game of the Year discussion if it comes down to Abiotic versus Risk of Rain 2.
Or maybe Abiotic gets 1.0 and you get Game of the Year and Discovery of the Year.
I am telling the audience right now that if Abiotic Factor releases this year, it will probably be my Game of the Year. This game that is like 87 megabytes big. It will probably be my Game of the Year.
Isn't it like 20 gigs? Get
might
out of
be.
here.
I don't know. Small little game.
It is small. One last
And
thing.
huge at the same time.
Yeah. I will say one more thing about this game. The moment we have our server set up so that like any of us can hop on anytime, complete game changer for me. You know?
Oh.
Dan, I reworked the batteries in our base. And
Oh.
it's fucking primo now.
Hell yeah.
Primo.
Oh yeah, I know you were trying to get that wire up to the top floor.
And hey, you saw me. I
Yeah.
used the little jump pad, and so
Yeah.
good, dude. So good. Gage and I were playing, and we found like these like just tiny little rooms, little office rooms. We kept saying, you know, what this place looks like a good place for a new base. And that's just from going on supply runs and stuff. It's very fun.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kirik. I missed this. Kirik said it earlier. Seriously, right now the game Tiny Glade is so good, made by a development team of 2. That's awesome.
Tiny Glade is great.
I also
Should we? Yeah.
I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, should we just close out since we just talked about games we're playing, right? So,
But
before we go there, my one quick little thing that I alluded to before, I am at the second to last rank in Halo Infinite.
that's right.
I have one. All I have to do is finish this rank and rank up, and I've hit max rank. And that is what I was alluding to, that I'm going to start beating some fucking games once that's done. It's getting close.
Where
What
to
does that
hold
mean?
you
Is that
to
like
that?
prestige? Is that like prestige?
No, it's not prestige.
It's the final.
It's
It's
just
the equivalent of the final prestige. You've done everything.
It's
You've hit the
everything.
max
This
rank.
is the last rank. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a lot of XP. I still have it popped up. It's like 279,000 XP for the final rank. So it's still gonna be probably a couple weeks, but
Do you know on average how much you get from a game?
it
From a match?
depends. It depends. So like if I keep playing the undead game, the zombies like game, I usually get around 6,000 to 7,000 per game, but the games usually go for like 20 to 30 minutes. So
Right. So 6,000 to 7,000, and you've got 279,000
Yeah.
XP to go.
so a little bit
That's
to
what
go.
we're dealing with.
Not
That's crazy.
including like daily contracts or challenges, whatever that I know you do as well. That gives you extra.
That's
right?
separate. That's separate. So that's for
Oh, dang.
progression. Yeah, that's
Dang.
for progression of your battle pass.
Here's
Two
Gaming
different.
Back.
Yes.
Thank you again to everyone joining us live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, and everywhere else that you get your pods. Thank you, Roshan, who played a game. Thank you, me. That's Gage. That's Daniel. And this has been Podcast PXN, and we are leaving for the day.
Much love and keep on gaming.
See ya.
I think I'm going to talk about the day-night cycle and antibiotic.